Thanks for listening to the Grow Your Life podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about ways to start growing and building your personal brand, but also starting a company, no matter who you are, and growing a business from scratch. The starting point for people. And this is where I found a lot of people have questions. I've talked with people this week, real estate agents, network marketers, real estate brokers, service providers, marketing consultants, photographers, speakers, authors, influencers, and nonprofits. And they all had the same question for me. And I realized I need to do a podcast on that. But before we get started, I want to make sure if you're not in the hashtag Grow Your Life community on Facebook, that you join it. It is a virtual mastermind / networking community / think tank where you can ask questions. Any question goes on any of the topics on the podcast, any of the videos that I do every single day on my Facebook and Instagram. And you can engage and answer other people's questions, network, and meet other like-minded people like yourself that are working on reaching their goals. Now, here's the deal. If you're somebody that is growing in a business, this podcast is for you. This episode is a great starting point for people that have business goals. However, this is episode number 25. There's 24 other episodes as well to help support this. And so I'm going to refer back to a lot of those different episodes throughout this podcast to help you get the most out of it, depending on where you are at. If I don't answer something in this episode or you have any other additional questions, feel free to ask me. Send me a DM, go post it on social media, go post it in the Facebook group. Now, no matter where you are in your business, starting out, this applies no matter what you do. I had a lady the other day say, hey, can you translate this into what I do? And one of the biggest, most common misconceptions is that what applies in one business does not translate to another and has to be perfectly translated for you. When in fact, the number one breakthroughs and innovations are actually pulled from other industries and applied in those industries. And so this podcast is evergreen for anybody, no matter what they're doing. I can promise you that what I'm going to teach in this, it's not going to be specifically for any specific industry, and you can plug it in whether you are just starting out or growing a brand and apply it to that. I'm going to specifically start though with people that have been trying things for years and not getting results. And I know where you're at. Maybe you've been trying to build a business for the last 7 to 10 years and nothing's worked. Essentially, you're not 10 years in business, you're still at year 1, or you're starting over, or you're reevaluating things, or maybe just you plateaued and you need to find a new way to get things working because they didn't work. They're not working the way that they used to. This podcast is designed to help you grow in your life and in your business. And here's the deal, you guys. If you grow in your life meaning you listening to this, you are an individual, or if you're listening as a group, that's cool, but you're all individuals listening to this individually. So I'm speaking to the individual who's listening to this in this. And if you grow in your life and your mindset personally, it applies in business. Another misconception is this, and I spent 15 years avoiding this truth, absolutely avoiding it, feeling like if I just found the next shiny new object, the next thing that would help launch me to success in business, I could avoid all of this personal development and mindset stuff because that was just hooky. That wasn't what I really needed to get results. And so this podcast is for both sides of the coin, whether you need strategies in business or you need to increase your mindset. I don't separate the two. I really bring them together in a way that is cohesive, congruent, and parallel for you. Because if you grow in your life, your mindset, it instantly applies in business. And if you grow in your business, it instantly affects your life. And if you're somebody that's in business listening to this, making more money lets you do more, accomplish more, be more. It just amplifies who you already are. If you grow in your life, in your mindset, it affects every other area of business. And I've discovered that mindset is actually the first place that people need to start with in building their personal brand. The number one reason that most people are spinning on the hamster wheel for 10 years, 15 years, and not getting any results or very little result has nothing to do with what they're doing. And that's why it's frustrating, because they're like, I've gone through the training, I've listened to the podcast, and nothing has worked. I've gone to the seminars, I've gone through the courses. When in fact, it's what's between their two ears that is affecting it. And it's actually translating everything in a way that is filtering through their life experiences, telling them to do, they're hearing the same information. Stick with me on this. Maybe you're somebody like this. Maybe you listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of seminars. You're hearing the same information in one ear, and the way it's going in sounds the same, and you're hearing it, and you're seeing one person succeeding wildly, and you're struggling, even though you're both hearing the same information. And there's going to be people that are listening to this episode right now that are going to hear it and translate it differently. And so what I'd like to say is this, is that no matter what business you're doing, the translation actually starts with you. It starts with the mindset. It starts between what's in between your two ears of how you're perceiving the words that are said. And even as I'm saying this right now, maybe you might be disagreeing with that. That's okay. Absolutely okay. Stick with me on this. We're going to go on a journey together. I also invite you to subscribe to this podcast and listen to some of the other episodes. Episode number 17 of this podcast, I just want to say this. It's called Not Another Cliche Talk on Finding Your Why. Is the most important, most impactful podcast as far as mindset goes that I've ever done for anybody. And I'm not going to repeat everything that I said in that podcast in this, but I want to say this, is that a lot of times when you're in business, the biggest thing that separates those that are successful and those that are not is their confidence and their clarity of knowing who they are, where they're going, and not letting anybody else define that for them but themselves. And you might think that you're somebody that does that, and yet I've noticed over the years, people very successful in business still struggle to go to where they could go in their potential because of not knowing their why, and their why being more self-focused instead of how they can impact those around them. And so I'm just going to share this here with you, is that the number one way to grow your personal brand, to grow your business, whether it's a personal brand or a business or you're building a company, has to do with mindset. And instead of looking inward in everything you're doing, all of your actions are to impact those that are outward. Meaning everything that you do in your business touches another person. Meaning your actions touch another person without any regard for how am I going to get my cut? How am I going to get my pay for it? Now, I'm not about just doing a whole bunch of stuff for free and hoping people pay you. There's a concept that I heard somebody teach. His name's Dave Meltzer, and I love his content. It's called the 100-20 model. If you ever heard of 80-20, 80% of the time content, 20% of the time sales. He does a different one. It's called 100-20. You're just 100% of the time giving without any regard of what you'll get back, but at the same time, you will ask 20% of the time for the sale. So you're constantly in front of people, you're constantly giving, and your main goal is how can I outgive other people more than what they're going to give me back financially. And this model is what separates, especially in 2019, even way more than it did 20 years ago, success versus failures. It's who can outgive and outserve their competition. And so this dials in for the difference between the companies that are more successful and those that are not, are those that are the best in the world at what they do. And so for you to be successful, to build your business, you have to be the best in the world at what you do. Now, some of you, that's a hard ask. I get it. But I want to touch on this real quickly here. I didn't say the best at the world at what somebody else does. I said the best in the world at what you do. And if hearing that makes you feel like that's impossible, that is a hint to where your mindset is. And if you're feeling like I cannot be the best in the world at what I do, that is impossible. Mindset is the place that you really need to dig deep into. Personal development. Because here's the deal. I'm going to sum it up very quickly, but that's what episode number 17 is about. Not another cliche talk on finding your why. Stop comparing yourself to other people and what they're doing as the bar for you to measure up to. Set the bar for yourself and only compare to yourself for the sake of improving and going past where you've already been. You are the only person in the world that can be the best in the world at what you do. Other people are the only people that can be the best in the world at what they do. So there's a lot of podcasters out there. However, I'm the best in the world at being Jeremiah Krakowski and doing the Grow Your Life podcast. Nobody else can be Jeremiah Krakowski better than I can be and do the Grow Your Life podcast. And so that's what I mean about this. Be the best in the world at what you can do. Meaning, you, not a copy or trying to be like somebody else. You can look at other people as a template, as an inspiration, as something maybe to stand on the shoulders of them to go further. But if you're looking at somebody else and trying to model what you're doing after them to copy them, you will always fail, or you'll maybe get to just below where they're at, but never further. But if you make it to where nobody can compete with you, it's called, in startup communities, it's called the blue ocean strategy. So think of it this way. A blue ocean strategy is crowded markets. Thousands of people. There's thousands of real estate agents, okay? There's thousands of network marketers. There's thousands of marketing consultants, service providers, speakers, authors, influencers, nonprofits, photographers, whatever. Okay? If I didn't name yours on that list, think about it, yours, okay? There's probably thousands of people that do what you do, but none of them are you. They're the best in the world at what they do, and what you do and what they do are not the same. And if even saying that, you're like, that's kind of tweaking your mind, and I get it. This is kind of a mind-melting concept, but we have to start with this. This is the foundation that we have to start with in this, and then everything else can build off of here. And I go into that in that episode number 17. Not another cliche talk on finding your why. And I go into it and I spend a whole hour breaking this down in a way that I don't have time for today on this podcast, because I have a lot more to share with you. But I do recommend listening to this one, going and listening back to episode number 17, and then listening to this one again with a fresh perspective on that. And so let's say you got two people here. Y'all do the same thing. Real estate agents, 2 network marketers, 2 brokers, 2 service providers, 2 marketing people, speakers, authors, influencers, nonprofits. Okay? You're like, we do the same thing. No, you don't. And that's where the mindset shift is realizing on the surface it may look like that. And that's where finding your originality and your individuality is key. What separates you, 2 people that do the same thing, that makes you individual and unique? You're not the same people. We know that. On the surface, to the untrained eye, it may appear like you're doing the same thing. To the untrained eye, what I do appears like the same thing that many other people do. You might be saying that. Maybe you've even heard a talk like this before from people. You are not them, and they are not you. So even if on the surface, to an untrained eye, 2 real estate agents, 2 network marketers, 2 brokers, you get it. I'm not going to go down the list every single time. Okay. 2 people, you and them, even if on the surface it looks like the same thing, you're not the same people. And so you never will be able to do the same thing. The way you do it and the way they do it are very different. And so that's where the mindset shift comes from, is really knowing who you are and getting clarity on who you are. And then everything else flows from there. So that's kind of your foundational level of all of that, is who you are. And letting people know that. And what separates you from going from where you are now to where you want to be is how you communicate and present who you are to mentally enroll people. What do I mean by mentally enroll people? Okay? Let me explain this. When you first found this podcast, you didn't know who I was. Now you're listening. You're about 16 minutes into this episode. What I've been doing for the last 5 to 10 minutes is enrolling you into that concept that even though 2 people that do the same thing are not the same, okay? Whatever you're doing, whatever that is, you have to enroll people into that idea. You have to impart to them certainty and trust and clarity and confidence in you and what you do, to where they now know the same things that you know. And so on the surface, to the untrained eye, it looks the same. So your job in building your personal brand to set yourself apart is actually showing people why they should work with you versus somebody else. Not by comparing, but actually proving to them and demonstrating your results ahead of time and being relentless with it. And this is a concept that I pulled from a book called Good to Great. It's one of my favorite books, one of my favorite business books. I highly recommend the audiobook of it. It is a little more technical. It's called Good to Great. And what he shows is he compared companies over, I think, the last 100 years that were just good at what they did versus great, that stood the test of time, that established a legacy. And the difference was these 3 things. They had clarity, confidence, proof, certainty. They supported what they were doing. They showed people, and they were relentless and never giving up on what the author Jim Collins calls their hedgehog concept. Okay? And they created a flywheel of this. I'll explain these 2 concepts. Okay? This is the foundation of what I really, everything that I talk about is kind of based out of this framework of thinking. What can you be the best in the world at? So I shared with that. You and your company is not the same as another company. So as soon as you separate yourself and show people that you're not the same, you now have blue ocean. So you could be in a crowded market space. And the way the blue ocean is described is, think of an ocean, lots of ships. They're all different ships. But as soon as you have blue ocean, you can speed ahead to your destination. And so the way to give yourself blue ocean with your customers is by showing them and enrolling them in that concept that you are the best in the world at what you do, and actually proving it and demonstrating it to other people. And that's all that marketing is. That's all that advertising is. That's all that your strategy is. Everything is built around that and human psychology and presenting and communicating to people why they should work with you. And so the hedgehog concept is this. It combines what can you be the best in the world at, what are you passionate about, and what drives your economic engine. So what can you make money from, what can you be the best in the world at, and what are you passionate about? Now, a lot of times, most people who, this is probably you that is listening to this, you probably have an economic engine, okay? Some way to make money, real estate agent, network marketing, broker. You have some way to make money. It's your product or service or what you do. Okay? And you're passionate about it. You actually love it. You like what you do. If you're not passionate about your economic engine, I would highly recommend finding a new economic engine. So if you're listening to this right now and you're saying, I'm just not passionate about how I can make money, I recommend finding something that fits into both what you can make money with and you're passionate about. And let me write this down. I actually was thinking about this as well. Musicians, artists as well. People in the arts, entertainment. This is some of the hardest ways because those are very passion areas. Passion-oriented areas. Authors, speakers, nonprofits, musicians, artists, photographers. Those are more passionate than maybe real estate agent, service provider, network marketer, broker, consultant. So then what it is you have to get real clarity on what you do. What is your hedgehog concept? What do you do that you're the best in the world at, that you're passionate about, that you can make money from? And so let me just share this with you guys a little bit, what maybe some examples of this are. I'm just going to go real quick on some of these examples. For me personally, I found that what I'm the best in the world at is helping educate people on how to solve tough problems and helping solve them and helping unpack hard to understand concepts on a mass scale and reaching many customers. And so what I do now in my consulting is I'll work with an executive, a CEO, a founder on taking their vision. You know, they'll usually already have a hedgehog concept of some kind. The best in the world at part of it is really the last part of it, but it comes from mindset. So I'll circle back around to that. They have an economic engine. That's probably you. You have a way to make money. They have something they're passionate about, and those usually connect. If those are disconnected, you will have a very hard time being the best in the world at it. So start with those. What are you passionate about? What can you make money from? And then you can add that to it. So then what I like to do is, okay, we have a way to make money. We have a goal. We have a passion. How do we show people that we're the best in the world at it? And that's where marketing, advertising, and strategy comes from. And so I really dive into how can we present this to people to create our blue ocean strategy. And that's what I do in consulting with founders, CEOs. And then I help with, particularly in the area of Facebook ads management, copywriting, communications, because that is something that I know the way that I do it, the methodology that I do that. I've not found anybody that can do it the way I do. And I'm the best in the world at what I do in that area of copywriting, communication, presentation, and advertising. And then we connect that with what can we do? What do we have access to? What's our economic engine? And building it all together. And so for me, now that's how I present myself to people, as I say, listen, I can manage your Facebook ads and I can consult you on taking your vision, extracting it, refining it, and then launching it out to the world and showing them what you can do. Showing people and enrolling them in that. And that's what marketing and advertising is. Okay? Now let's say you're a real estate agent. I'm going to start with real estate agents here. Economic engine, you sell houses. You're probably passionate, not really passionate about selling houses, but you're passionate about helping somebody find their dream home. You see, your passion usually always stems from something that it is not about you. And that's where a lot of people get their passions mixed up. Is they're like, they're so focused on how can I make money that they miss their passion. So the passion for a real estate agent, maybe you are just passionate about hitting sales numbers. That's awesome, just achievement. And that's where, if you've ever studied the Enneagram, everybody has the different Enneagram numbers. When you study that really points to finding how you do something, what sets you apart, what makes you the best in the world, and then aligning what you do around that. And I really highly recommend that. This is not going to be a talk on the Enneagram, but it's something that I support, that I've really started to use more in my life and how I coach people. I'm an Enneagram type 3, for example. My wife is an Enneagram type 8. So that's where I'm about achieving things, and I'm, she is, I don't even fully understand type 8s personally. So I'm still learning about the Enneagram and that. But what you can do is study your Enneagram type. You're not supposed to really learn just other people's. Learn more about it enough to help communicate to others, to market to them. So, for example, a type 8 just really is just going to go after the result and the fluff and all of that of how we got there. Who cares? Let's just go after it. For me, I want to be the best in the world at something, so it's an achieving type of thing. There's different things with the Enneagram. Again, like I said, this isn't a talk on the Enneagram. And if I go down that path, we're going to get distracted from what we're actually talking about here. Building your companies, building your personal brand. So for you, finding your passion is individual. What can you be the best in the world at in your passion? If you're a real estate agent, your passion might be different. It either will have to do with helping other people or a personal achievement or a mix of those two different things, whatever that is. Maybe hitting sales numbers, maybe helping support something, maybe being a part of a team. We all have these different goals. Maybe you're motivated by just having fun and enjoying life. And so you want to build an economic engine to enjoy life. You're passionate about that, for example. So whatever you're passionate about, you have to identify that for yourself. And the Enneagram is a great way to help you do that, to help you find your unique passion and the way that you are the best in the world at something based around an economic engine. So the economic engine is kind of what you do. I do podcasting, consulting, coaching, real estate agent, network marketer. You're selling a product or service to people, e-commerce store. You're selling a product or service, a broker. You're helping connect people. You're a connector. You're a broker. You're connecting and taking a spread of that profit, but you're basically helping people reach their goals. So if you're a network marketer, you're helping people reach the goal of why would they buy your network marketing product? Why would they buy your network marketing product? Answer that. If you don't know the answer to that, that's what you need to identify. You need to identify why somebody else would buy that product that you're selling from you. If you got into network marketing just to make money, that's great. But you have to know how to communicate and present it to other people and speak their language. The reasons that you like it aren't always the same reasons other people do. And so communicate to people in their language and meet them where they're at. And that comes only by asking questions in prospecting and learning human psychology, getting feedback from people and learning based on different ways that people answer you, how to respond to them. That's where sales training comes in. Again, this isn't really a sales training teaching. This is kind of an overall overview, and I'm going to touch on a number of different topics. And so if you hear me touch on something specifically in this episode while we're going through this that you want me to dive deeper into, check my podcast that I've already done. If you don't see that I've done it already, like for example, episode number 2 is probably one of the best sales trainings that you'll find anywhere. On how to sell anything with the words you say to people. Listen to that if you need to grow in how to communicate with sales. If you need to grow in getting more traffic, customer acquisition, follow-up strategy. There's episode number 6, episode number 7 are about that. Using free and paid methods to get customers. Like I said, this podcast is a system that you can actually use this podcast depending on wherever you're at in your business, and you can use the feedback of asking me questions and asking questions in the group to get answers to identify which episodes are the best ones for you, depending on where you're at. Okay? So for example, if you're a network marketer, you have to show people in the crowded market of competitive products why they're going to pay more money for your product than other people. And usually it's because network marketing products are higher quality than what they could buy at the store. And really nowadays people do care about quality. And so you can actually enroll people on why they should buy from you and not just go to the store to buy a competitive product or buy from another network marketer. And that's where you show people why you are the best in the world at that. And you build your brand around you and your company. Now, here's where I've seen where a lot of people miss the boat on this. They focus so hard when they're starting out on building their brand around the name of their company and what they sell, that they're so disconnected from the human being on the other end of their marketing that nobody wants to do business with them. Nobody wants to buy something from a big giant robot. Ever. Do you ever buy anything from a big giant robot? Where you're like, well, yeah, I bought my phone from Apple or from Google. That's great, but it's because you saw other people use it. And so it demonstrated the results. It's all based on testimony, proof, certainty, trust. Get it? So if people, maybe they don't trust your company, they don't trust you, they want to trust somebody else, you have to impart to people the certainty on why they need to trust you and what you're saying. And they need to have certainty in you, your product, and your company. And in sales, those are really the three things that move people along the process, move the needle forward to being just a prospect to being a close. And that's what I talk about in episode number 2, is imparting certainty and vision into people in the sales process about you and what you do. Now, how do you do that? That's what this episode is about. And I've only really scratched the surface of this so far. We're going to dive even deeper now. We're going to go to another level of this that's even deeper than what I've talked about right now. Is how do you do that? How do you demonstrate results if you don't have any testimonials? How do you get customers if you don't know how to? How do you follow up? What if you're not good at sales? How do you impart vision to people? How do you help people get clear and be confident and support their goals and be relentless with it? And it all starts with you personally, right now, wherever you're at right now, first getting clear and believing in what you do and what you offer. And if you yourself right now don't believe wholeheartedly, 100% in what you're doing, you're going to project that to other people that you're trying to sell on what you're doing. And people don't just listen to the words you say. They don't just listen to the words you write. People communicate on a level that is actually nonverbal. There's nonverbal cues, the way that we combine our words, our tonality, that say things to people that we're not really saying. That's what we call reading between the lines, quote unquote. And so, for example, if you're listening to this podcast, I believe wholeheartedly in what I'm saying because I know it works. I know that it's what separates those that are successful from those that aren't. And in observing thousands of companies that I've worked with, seen, and helped over the years, this is what separates people from where they are to where they want to be, are these two things of how they present themselves and communicate with other people. And if there's any disconnect along the way of that, they struggle. And so the first part of this, of how you present yourself and communicate to other people of what you have to offer, entertainment, artist, musician, nonprofit, influencer, author, speaker, photographer, consultant, marketing service provider, network marketer, real estate agent. And if yours isn't on that list, whatever you do has to do with first, before anything else, believing in wholeheartedly and having confidence yourself in what you're doing and knowing, not just knowing because somebody else did it, but knowing that you are doing what you were made for and that you can be the best in the world at it, that you can make money with this, that you're passionate about it, and getting really clear and confident on that yourself. The presentation and the communication to help you get from where you are to where you want to be first starts with you being clear and confident yourself in those things. You first have to believe in what you're doing. You have to know that what you're doing is going to work. And you have to have confidence and clarity. And so for you to then impart vision and certainty and trust into other people in the sales process and demonstrate results to them relentlessly starts with you first believing what you say yourself, believing what you present yourself, believing what you communicate. And if there's any disconnect in what you believe and what you're saying, people can tell. And so the number one reason that most people, maybe you've been struggling up to this point in what you're doing is maybe you feel like you don't believe in what you're doing. Maybe you feel like maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I'm making a mistake spending so much time doing this. And you're projecting that in all of your communication and all of your presentation to people. And it's oozing out of you. And it's turning people off to what you're doing. Now, a lot of people, we call this insecurity. A lot of people project insecurity in one of three different ways. They're either underconfident and underwhelming and very passive in how they're communicating. And so they're very nervous. They're like, I need to not say too much to turn people off. And they're so worried about making mistakes that insecurity comes out that, wow, maybe this person. And so when people see that, they're saying, maybe this person really doesn't believe in what they're telling me. Okay? So there's that. There's also overconfident and overcompensating. Undercompensating, that's the first one. The super passive. Then there's the overcompensating, okay? The aggressive. If you're aggressive, too aggressive, you don't believe in what you're doing, and so you're overcompensating for it. And you've probably seen people that do this. They're trying to overcompensate for what they don't know and trying to sell you too hard on what they're talking about. And that comes across. And so when you're not confident, you project that either in overcompensating or undercompensating. And if you're doing anything and you're doing that, you're either overcompensating or undercompensating for what you're trying to tell people in, meaning you're underwhelming, you're not relentless enough, you don't believe in what you're doing, or you're trying to prove it to yourself and prove it to them, and you're trying to prove why you deserve to be in the room that you're already in. Both of those are turnoffs to people. Or there's the third kind, which is kind of like the chameleon. You maybe you undercompensate to some people and you overcompensate to others, and you just kind of shapeshift a little bit into whoever you need to be in that moment, but you're really not who you need to be in that moment. So these are the three different things. And that's the passive aggressive. You're passive when you need to be, you're aggressive when you need to be, and there's still a disconnect. There's no authenticity. There's no individuality or originality. And that comes across in how you're presenting yourself to people and how you're communicating. There's only one way to solve that. That's to equally have compassion, to care about other people, to care about their needs equally. When I'm talking to you, I care about what you're going through. I realize everybody is going through a different thing. And you want to help support them in their goals. But at the same time, you know so much that what you're doing is what you were designed for, that you know what you're doing, and that nobody else can tell you otherwise or question that, and you're unwavering in your confidence. You're not underconfident, overcompensating, or undercompensating. Your baseline level of communicating with people, calm, collected, thankful, grateful. This is where gratitude comes in. You're not comparing yourself to somebody else. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not. You're purely, authentically who you are. Meaning, and I'll give you an example of what this means, okay? You probably have a best friend. Or you've had a best friend in the past. Or you think about how you would communicate to a best friend, okay? So think about that. In your sales communication process, in your video presentations, in your marketing, in your advertising, when you talk with that best friend, you're not worried about saying the wrong things. You're not worried about making mistakes. You just flow out of a place of knowing, hey, listen, there's trust built over time, and so I can be myself. And so the number one place where people mess up is they just aren't themselves enough. And people can tell when you're not being yourself, when you're trying to be somebody that you were never made to be. And it comes across in how you communicate with people. It comes across in the way that you talk, the way that you share your content, the way that you enroll people. That lack of confidence comes across. Maybe because you don't have testimonials or proof, or you don't know how to get customers, or you don't maybe know how to do what you need to do. That comes across. Here's one of the best things to do. Just be real with people. If you don't know what you're talking about in one area, but you're like, hey, this will help you. For example, I did it on this podcast. I'm going to actually show you an example, live example of how to do this in a really good way. I am not an Enneagram expert. Like I said, I know my Enneagram, and I know I'm learning about my wife's, and I'm learning about other people's. We all know Enneagram helps us know more about ourselves, our strengths, and our weaknesses. Okay? Now, if you're an Enneagram consultant, you should probably know about other people's Enneagrams. I'm not an Enneagram consultant. I'm going to start to learn more about it. I'm going to start to learn more about this. What I'm good at, though, is helping people with a strategy that is evergreen, that they can plug into anything that they are, no matter what their Enneagram is, no matter what their business is, no matter what they do, that gets results. And so that's what I'm really good at. And I know how to help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And I know that I'm the best in the world at doing that. And I know that if people take what I'm talking about and apply it, that they will get results. Kind of like, this. If your accountant says if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to get in trouble. You trust that. But I also know this, that when somebody's listening to me, maybe they don't always trust what I'm saying. And so my responsibility is to build that trust with people, to build that relationship, to build that proof, to demonstrate those results. And so hopefully over the time when you're listening to my podcast, when you're plugging into this, that trust is built. The way that you build trust and demonstrate results with people comes from initially and first your confidence, your clarity and your vision, and believing in yourself enough that you actually can impart that to other people in the words that you say. So for example, I believe so much in what I'm sharing with you that hopefully I'm imparting to you that belief, and I'm demonstrating those results. My podcast further demonstrates those results. My live videos do that. And over time, I'm relentlessly showing that. I'm being relentless with you, if you're listening to this, about what I do. And so that's what you need to do. You need to know that what you're doing is what you were made for, and clarity on what you do and what you're the best in the world at, what you're passionate about, why you do what you do. And that's what episode number 17 is about. For example, if I'm consulting a client, one of my favorite things in the world, I love it, is I work with a client, they're struggling, they're not getting results, and then suddenly, boom, they're getting a result. Ryan Carlock, he's one of the first guys I started kind of coaching in this way. And now he's making 6 figures and moving into a 7-figure income in his business. When he was getting no results at that point, he's been successful. He's made, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, and then lost it. And so I'm like, bro, I told him, I'm like, dude, your biggest thing is you just gotta, you know your stuff. The biggest thing that was the biggest shift for Ryan was this that I'm sharing on this right now. Is once he got so clear in realizing that what he was teaching people worked, and that what he did, that he was the best in the world at it, and then that came across in his language, and he talked more about helping other people and less about what he could get out of it. That came across in his marketing and then in his sales messages, and it affected every single area of his business, and then it produced profit. And so what a lot of people think they need, and what they really need, is confidence and clarity in what they do, and then expressing that to other people through presentation and communication. And that's what sales and marketing is. And so in that, now, once you get that down, that clarity, that mindset in who you are, and that's not going to happen on just this one episode of this podcast. Some people are listening to this episode and they're going to have that light bulb moment that goes off for them of this. And I know that. And I know that there's people that are listening to this. Others, they're going to have to go listen to episode number 17. They're maybe going to have to listen to episode number 5 and number 12. Episode number 12 is about how to accomplish what looks impossible. The title of it is something else, but it's along those lines of something looks impossible, how to go from where you are to where you want to be if where you want to be looks impossible. That's what episode number 12 is about. Episode number 5 is getting past any sort of fear to your breakthrough. Okay? So many of you are going to have to plug into this podcast and to listen to more episodes repeatedly to get it going through your head. Episode number, I think it was 22, it was either episode number 21 or 22. It's the 7-day program to transform your life. That's another great one for people as well. It's how to systematically create a system for yourself to grow in these areas that I'm talking about right here over the course of a 7-day period. To be confident in what you're doing. So if you're doing marketing services, let's say you don't have any customers. How do you demonstrate results to people? You get on the phone, you do a consulting call, you talk to people, you sell yourself. Maybe you do it for free for people. If you have a service-based business, I did a podcast episode on how to get more customers in a service-based business. If you're selling information, I did a podcast episode on how to get more customers and how to make courses and educational products and how to get more customers and more traffic for your business in that way. If you're an author, speaker, you have to show people what you do. And one of the number one ways to do that for anybody, no matter what their business is social media. You probably didn't think I was going to dive into social media in this episode, did you? I've created a system for people that is tested over time for growing in clarity and confidence in what they do. And that system starts with social media. It actually starts pre-social media a little bit. And it starts by testing and growing in how to express yourself in a way that helps people get clarity and imparts that vision, that trust, that demonstrates results to people. And it ties it all together, all this stuff that I'm talking about right here. And so my mission with this podcast is to help 100,000 people make 7 figures. I don't know if there's a podcast in the world that the vision of their podcast, free content, is to help people become millionaires. There's maybe some out there that say that, but I'm claiming that's my results goal I'm looking for, is to help 100,000 people make $1 million through this podcast. And the only way that I can do that is by hearing from people what they're doing in their business, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, where they're at, what they've tried before, what's worked, what hasn't. And then we set a plan, a 1-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year plan for their goals. And so maybe you're a speaker, an author, an influencer. You're trying to get your message out to people, and you have these certain goals. Maybe you're a real estate agent, a network marketer, a broker, and you're looking at, so a lot of times what you're going to compare yourself to is people that have been doing it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. For example, if you're comparing yourself to me listening to this right now, I've been doing this, what I'm doing right now, teaching and sharing and helping people do this for about 5-6 years. But I've also been in the marketing space for 15 years. So that's why I want to help impart to you and distill what I've learned that works, that doesn't, over that time, so that you don't have to take 5 to 10 years. You could take 5 to 10 months to get the results that took me 5 to 10 years. Okay? If you have a goal, you're probably your goal is based on what you've seen somebody else do most of the time. And that's okay. That's totally okay, as if you use comparison in a way to set your goals. You know what's possible. But the macro has to come, or the micro, the macro can be in comparison. You know, I want to have a $10 billion business. I want to have or 10 million, or a $10,000 a month business, or a $3,000 a month business. There's people listening to this right now that if they just had a business that was making them $3,000 a month working part-time, their life would change. And I want to tell you this, that's possible. I did an episode on that actually as well, on how anybody can make over $100,000 a year no matter what they do. That's also in the podcast. And that really dives into more of that mindset, that money mindset. The reason you want to make money is not just to impact yourself, but how you can help other people. And if you make your goal serving other people first, the money side of things always comes in. So if you're a real estate agent, how do you serve people? You help them get into their dream home. If you're a network marketer, you help them reach, your product has a result. So you want to find other people that need that result that your product does, and then you're going to help them get that result. If you're a service provider, you're going to find people that need that service and help them get that result. If you're a marketing consultant, you're going to find people that have a certain result that they're looking for, and you're going to help them get that result. If you're a consultant, like me, one of the best ways I'm going to say for marketing, service providers, and educators, authors, speakers, and influencers, specifically in that area, is if you just take what I'm doing right now with this podcast, with my daily videos on social media, and with my Facebook group, and you use that as a template for yourself, you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches just by starting there. Okay? If you're somebody with a nonprofit, somebody that's a musician, an artist, an entertainer, these are highly passionate areas. You wouldn't be doing that if you weren't passionate about it. And ultimately, really, nobody does things for too long when they lose their passion. For example, if you're not making enough money, you're going to lose your passion at something. And I get that. If it's not paying off, you're going to lose your passion and you're going to get burnt out. And so one of the first things is this: the way to prevent burnout is to get clarity on you, what you're doing, and confidence, and then have a system to plug into that gets results. Which, by the way, the only system I know that can help you do this that I have to offer you is just listen to all my podcast episodes right now. I'm starting to develop tools for people. For example, I'm talking to a developer on a motivational chatbot that you can use on your mobile phone that helps you with that. I'm working on software for goal setting. I'm working on courses to help people get more customers, to help present themselves in that way. I have a course called Website Building Made Easy that specifically is around how to build a website that professionally presents and communicates what you do to people to get results in less than 7 days. And if your website, quite frankly, I'm just going to be real with you, sucks and looks like a hot mess, that's one of the first places that people need to start, is a better website to get more results. That's why I made that course as the first course that I'm doing. Is people can listen to my podcast to get the mindset coaching. I really want to help people with the mindset and the concepts for free, because that's really the groundwork that's then going to help them go to that next level. Once they have that, once your mindset is right, once you have your economic engine, once you know what you can be the best in the world at, once you know what you can be passionate about, once you know you can be relentless with it, and you're communicating through social media, now we need to present and communicate you in a way that makes sense to people, that they're used to, that is competitive with everything else that's on the marketplace. And that's why you need a website. And Website Building Made Easy is a step-by-step course where I walk you through how to build a website that works in the way people expect, that gets results by distilling my knowledge of building websites over the last 15 years. That was my first job that I ever did. I've been building websites actually for the last 24 years. I built my first website 24 years ago. You'd be like, wait, what? 24 years ago? Yes, that's a long time ago. It was on AOL. And I taught myself how to code. I'm 31 years old now. I'm young. Just exposed my age to you now. There's some trust built here. When I was 7 years old, I built my first website. Taught myself how to code. And then I learned more about that. And then I had my first business doing it professionally when I was 15 years ago. And I got into marketing as a profession, as my full-time profession, building websites 15 years ago. And so that's what I've done, is I've distilled what I've learned over the last 15 years of doing that and using the internet as a tool to get more customers. And I share those strategies with you of how to build a website, how to come up with an authentic, unique website that shows you as the best in the world to other people. All this stuff I've been talking about, and how to distill that in a way that works through the internet. And so that's what that course is about. And you can check that out on my website, jeremiahkrakowski.com. Click on website course. Or, I have blog posts even that you can read. Read through that. Highly recommend it to people. Also, by the way, if you're somebody that wants to add website building into their repertoire of what they do, or increase in knowledge and skill on something that you don't know how to do and start a business doing that, that course will give you enough information to actually learn how to build websites that you could actually charge money for it and actually have a business doing that. Okay? Presentation and communication and presenting yourself. If you can help other people present themselves in a way, if you're a marketing consultant, marketing service, or a service provider, you are helping people present and communicate what they do. You're essentially doing what I'm talking about on this. And I want to say this bluntly. Take what I'm sharing on this podcast, if you're a consultant, a service provider, a marketer, and share it with those that you consult. And watch the results happen. They will happen. Whatever you do, presenting yourself and communicating what you do, demonstrating results, imparting vision, clarity, and certainty to people, and then acquiring customers and communicating, and all of that is what you need to do. So for example, you're a real estate agent, you need to get customers. Network marketer, you need to get customers. You're a broker, you need to get people to connect with. A service provider, you need customers. Photographer, you need customers. Speaker, author, influencer, all of this, you need customers. In the arts, you need people that are also passionate about what you're passionate about. A nonprofit, you need to find people that have similar passions to you. If you're a musician, people who have a similar passion to what you have. You need to find your tribe of people if you're in making entertainment. And so that's what that is you actually need to find people that share your passion in that way. Not everything that's in business is about finding shared passions. So if you're somebody that's more in the arts, the entertainment, or a nonprofit, even definitely photographers, speakers, influencers, really, and it does encompass this. You need to find people with common passions to where you can bolt on what you know to what they love, and then you can help other people reach their goals. Like I said at the beginning, this is not about you. This is about helping other people and relentlessly presenting yourself in a way that shows confidence, presents and communicates that you know what you're talking about, that you have clarity in what you do, and then they get the same clarity in what they're doing. So for example, I talked with an author the other day. He was saying, he's got this great book, great content. And I said, but bro, your book cover and your title are disconnecting people with the gold that's in there. And this is what I find that a lot of people have. Their economic engine is gold for people. There's so many great musicians out there that never get listeners. There's so many great artists. There's so many great entertainers. There's so many great nonprofits, authors, influencers, speakers, photographers. There's so many great people that are the best in the world at what they do. And they're passionate about it. And they can make money from it. And yet, there's a disconnect between the building the momentum to get results. And so what you have to do is you have to systematically enroll people in what you're doing and realize this. You can't be all things to all people, but if you find the right person for what you do, for example, this is a great example. You can't sell hair care to a bald man. Think of a man with no hair. You're not going to be able to sell hair care to him. He's not your customer. You want to find people with hair if you're selling hair care. If you're a real estate agent, you want to find people looking for homes or wanting to sell their home. Network marketer, you want to find the right people. Okay? And then you can expand your net further. And then you demonstrate those results and you find those people. And that's where your customer acquisition strategy comes in. And that's where a lot of people struggle with. And maybe you're somebody who's listening to this right now and you're like, I get it. I'm at the point now where I just need to learn how to get more customers. That's what episode number 7 of the podcast is about, is both free and paid ways to get more customers. Okay? If you're somebody that's struggling with your customer acquisition strategy, it's because you're struggling to communicate and present what you do to people. And you're not being relentless with communicating it, and you're not putting yourself in front of the right people often enough that they know what you're doing, and you're not finding the right people. And if you can solve that, you won't have any trouble getting customers. And so I know I've shared a lot of stuff here with you. I know I've shared a lot of different ways to reach people, find people. One of the best ways to do this is through social media. And I want to commend you if you're somebody that's listening to this right now. You're an hour into this podcast. One of the best ways to find your customer is to support their goals that have nothing to do with what you do. I'm going to say that again. One of the best ways to find customers is to support their goals to serve them in a way that is not related to exactly what you do. And that's how you can build trust, demonstrate results, impart certainty to people through social media. And that's how you can use social media no matter what you do, whether it's arts, entertainment, music. You're an author, speaker, consultant. For example, what I actually do that people pay me for is not what I'm talking about in this podcast. But what this podcast does is it supports what I do. It helps lift up and raise up what people pay me for. So until people get this stuff down, what they pay me for isn't really going to help them. So I have to help support people in that area to then do what I do best, what my business does best. Helps get them customers, helps extract their vision, refine it, launch it, and solve hard problems. And that's what this podcast does, and it builds trust with people. And so social media is the best way that you can do this. It's one of the best ways that you can do this is to demonstrate results through social media. And so if you're just starting out, if you don't have a lot of results under your belt, the best way to demonstrate results is to be a product of your product and to show people what you do and to show people why they should engage with you. So for example, let's say you're selling a network marketing product. You want to find people that are your tribe and your vibe that engage with and plug into what you do. Okay? So for example, let me do this on in the area of real estate agents. I'm gonna bring it back around to network marketers. I find network marketers to be one that I do struggle with attaching into what works for them because everybody has a different product or service. But there's a framework of it that's the same as everybody else that you can plug into it. So stick with me with this. If you're a network marketer, I'm going to get to you as I talk about this for some of the other people. This is kind of my process of how I process and unpack stuff. If you're a real estate agent, okay, and I'll translate this into network marketers and into e-commerce here in a little bit, and into nonprofit, and into musicians, and into photographers, and into speakers, authors, marketers, service providers, and brokers, okay? If you're a real estate agent, somebody that is wanting to buy their home needs help in the areas of financing, packing, moving, maybe shipping, maybe what do they want in the home, maybe making their decision, maybe finding the right real estate agent. So those are all 6 to 7 different areas as a real estate agent that you can do to support people, whether they use you or not. This is the biggest part about this, you guys. This is it. This is the goal of this episode right here. Is stop worrying so much about other people doing business with you and help somebody whether they do business with you or not. And this is the number one area that I see people fail and struggle in how they present and how they communicate. They're so worried about people doing business with them that they communicate in a way that shows, I'm so worried about you doing business with me that I'm not really confident in how I can help you because I'm worried that you might go to my competitor. When the very thing that they need to do to build trust, to demonstrate results, to support their goals, to support other people, is to help that person, whether they do business with you or not. And to put your ego aside, to put your own personal desires aside for 1 second and care about another person and care about what do they need and think about how can I help them get what they want, whether they use me or not. So for example, this is one of the best ways that I've seen network marketers demonstrate why somebody should go with them or not, is to offer information that helps people, whether they are on your team or not, whether they buy from you or not, whether they enroll with you or not. Help other people with no desire of who gets the credit. And this is credited a quote to a lot of people. If you can help other people without caring about you getting the credit, without caring about, and what I mean by credit is not just validation, but even monetary, getting credit, getting paid for helping that person. If you can help somebody else without caring about getting paid for it, that builds trust. Because why would somebody care so much about helping somebody and not care about them getting the credit for it unless they really knew what they were doing, unless they really could be trusted, unless they really could be trustworthy? And that's how you demonstrate results without testimonials. The proof is in the pudding. That phrase, it's an old phrase. A lot of people use it. But a lot of time people are so worried about trying to prove what's on top of the pudding that they're missing the substance that's deep down there. When in fact, what people really want to know is, if I engage with you, if I work with you, if I buy from you as a network marketer, are you just looking for the sale, or are you here to support me on my journey? If I work with you as a real estate agent, are you going to help me just in my first home or my second or my third? Or a broker. If I work with you as a broker, are you going to help me find another person that's going to help me do this? Can we build a long-term relationship? And this is why relationship matters more than getting results. And if you care more about relationship, about helping another person, than you do about what you can get out of it, you'll be exponentially so much more successful than you ever thought was possible. For example, I don't care if somebody takes my podcast and teaches it to somebody else and makes money from it. In fact, I invite people to do that. Please. I want this message that I'm sharing to get out to so many people that other people can be successful just by disseminating what I'm sharing and using it and bolting on their individuality to that. Don't just copy what I'm doing. You're an individual and you're better than that, than just copying what I'm saying. You have so much more inside of you than just that. Listen to other sources. I listen to lots of podcasts. I put this together from books that I've read, people that I've listened to, seminars, courses, trainings over time, and constantly growing and reading and growing in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and then experience and applying it, testing it to get results. And what I share with you is what I know works. And the proof is in the pudding, the people that get results. And supporting that. And so if you're a real estate agent, like I said, those examples, if you're a network marketer, let's say you are selling health and fitness products, okay? Help people with, let's say your product is a shake. The way to support it is help them with their workouts, with their mindset about their health and fitness, with their sleep patterns, with their goal setting, with getting more results in other areas of life. Sometimes people's excuses for not growing in their health and fitness is because they don't have the time. So if you can support those, somebody will then want to buy from you your product versus somebody else. If you're a mortgage broker, there's so many of them out there. Why would I work with you and not somebody else? Because you get results and you care about other people, and you show that, and that comes from testimonials. And capture testimonials as you get them over time. Capture them. If you're a marketing consultant, let's say you do one specific area. So for example, I do the executive stuff and the Facebook ads. But my podcast doesn't really talk as much on those two areas, because that's what people pay me for. Okay? But what I talk about supports everything in between that process, that swirl. It's a swarm. A swarm. It's a better name of it. Supports that. I was talking to a photographer the other day. This was a really great example, and that's what really inspired me to actually share this talk specifically with people. As I've really struggled with, how do I translate what I do to photographers? And then I realized, wait a sec. Somebody who gets their photography has certain goals in their life. If you can support those goals, if you're a wedding photographer, share content that helps support their wedding planning. Finding a wedding planner. Finding the dress. Finding the venue. Maybe you're a wedding photographer. But if you can help support people in an area that you won't benefit from, people will trust you to take their photos. And the proof is in demonstrating those results. Same with speakers. The way you demonstrate results if you're a speaker, author, or influencer is by speaking, writing, influencing people for free. Social media content. If you're a nonprofit, share what you do. Share the vision. Enroll people and captivate them in the vision of what's possible. The only way that people are going to donate to your nonprofit is if they have a shared vision for where you're going and they want to help you get there, because by helping you get there, they feel that they're helping themselves get there as well. So for example, nonprofit that helps human trafficking victims. People care about that. That's, it's an important thing. And they're like, I want to do my part to help with that. So they'll give money to help feel the same satisfaction of knowing they're helping somebody else to accomplish their goal. And you want to enroll people in that. It's the same thing. And you do that by talking about the realities, the work you do, what people can do to get involved, how they can research it, how they can grow. If you're a musician, put your music out there. Do songs, random songs, just go play your music on social media. If you're an artist, go draw, go create on social media. I know a number of musicians, entertainers, and artists that do this. A comedian might have shows and a podcast and maybe a Netflix special, but he'll put comedy on his Instagram stories, on his daily Facebook stuff. An artist will show people daily their art, and then maybe you can either buy their art or they'll teach people how to be an artist like them. If you're a musician, one of the best things, teaching musicians and sharing your music with people. And so the way that you show that to people is you relentlessly demonstrate results. And that's one of the best customer acquisition strategies. And the way you demonstrate results is you do things that support people in those ways. So for example, if your music touches on a specific topic, it helps people in a specific area that music has helped you. Speak into those things. Speak into the life that you want people to get from your music. Speak into the life that you want people to get from the artwork, maybe the healing touch of art. If you're an entertainer, entertain people through your social media. That's super easy. The speaker, author, influencer, and entertainer one, the best way to do it is I found this, as a lot of people, they're so afraid of giving away so much content for free that people won't ever buy from them that they miss the boat. Give away your stuff to the point that when you have something to offer for sale, people are so blessed by what you gave away that they'll be willing to buy it from you, because what you're basically doing is you're front loading the value. You're giving so much value up front for free that when you offer something for sale, it's kind of people's way of paying you back for all the stuff that you've given them for free. For example, that's what I do. Through this podcast, through my videos, through my consulting. People pay me because they're getting so much results. Through the free stuff. Don't be so afraid to put yourself out there and so prideful about what you do that you miss the boat completely from customer acquisition. And then the reason why you do this on social media is to refine and get better at it and find your specific tribe of people and what resonates with people. Okay? And so I talked about this, especially in that episode, I think it was number 7 of the podcast. I need to really pull it up here. So let me do that here real quick. While we're on this, I'm going to my website and pulling up the podcast. Episode number 7 is getting more traffic and customers with free and paid methods online. Listen to that as well. Episode number 7 and 17 are really ones that anybody who's listening to this needs to listen to the most. Getting more traffic and customers. And so what you do on social media is there's actually a formula to where the algorithm, the artificial intelligence, will actually, the way the algorithm works is you use it to your advantage to find the people that want to buy and engage with you. And you use social media and your web presence as a way to demonstrate results and get leads and follow up. And so maybe you don't have a customer acquisition strategy. Maybe you don't have a follow-up strategy in place. And you're listening to this right now. And you're like, when are you going to get to the meat of getting customers and following up and closing sales? Episode number 7 is about getting customers free and paid. Episode number 2 is about closing sales. Episode number 17 is about finding your why. This episode, if you haven't done those things that I'm talking about, the best customer acquisition strategy and the best follow-up strategy will never be successful until you get the mindset right about this stuff that I'm talking about. And you establish, what is it that I really do? What is it that I'm the best in the world at? How do I demonstrate that to people? What tools can I use to demonstrate that to people? You set up your website in a way. You set up your social media in a way that demonstrates to people what you do repeatedly, over time, often enough, loud enough, clear enough. Because you're clear in what you do and you're able to impart that to another person. And you don't give up. And you keep doing it. And you stay consistent, and you use a feedback strategy of asking people questions. And so I'm going to ask a question. If you're still listening to this right now, I want to know. I actually want to know. I want you, if you're not in the hashtag Grow Your Life community, join that community on Facebook. Go to hashtag Grow Your Life and ask me, if you're listening to this episode, hey, I need help in XYZ area. This is what I do. How can I get XYZ result? Ask that in that group. So that's kind of the asking formula. Ask, hey, I do this. I'm trying to do this. How do I do that? And then what'll happen is I can actually develop more content for you or direct you to a piece of content, or somebody else in the group might be able to help you get that goal. And so it's an ecosystem for you to actually get your goals. It's a tool that you can utilize to reach your results. And I also give away free coaching every single week on my Instagram for people that leave hashtag Grow Your Life on my Instagram in the feed within the first 10 minutes of me posting, or on every single post that I make on Instagram. They can win free coaching with me when they leave hashtag Grow Your Life. And I get on the phone for 30 minutes and I walk through people's individual goals. But I also do that coaching in the group as well. I do that coaching on my Facebook page. But all you have to do is ask. I can't help you unless you ask. And so I had like 5 or 6 people asking, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a photographer. I'm an author, speaker, artist, network marketer. How do I translate this into what I do? And I realized, it starts with getting that mindset right. And the best customer acquisition strategy in the world, the best follow-up strategy, the best website even, the best product, the best service, the best economic engine is not going to work unless you know that you are the best in the world at what you do, an individual, and that nobody else is like you. That as you communicate, that confidence comes across to other people, and you project confidence in the words that you're saying, and you enroll people in the belief and the clarity and the vision that you believe, and you impart that trust to them, and you build that trust. And so ultimately, you can't acquire customers. This is what I'm leading up to here. And I thank you for listening up to this point of this podcast. Is you can't get customers. And you can't get somebody to buy from you, and you can't get leads, and you can't close a sale unless you've built that trust first. And so the reason that you're struggling to go from where you are to where you want to be is you have up to this point been trying to get to where you want to be without having established trust first with people, with your customers, with those that you help. And the best way to establish trust in 2019 and 2020, and even for the next 5 to 10 years at least, is social media. And diving into a social media environment to demonstrate to people results, testimonials, help support their goals, help find your target customer. That's what episode number 7 is about. How to close your target customer. That's what episode number 2 is about. Setting up a follow-up strategy between acquisition, lead generation, and sales to follow up to close the deal. And it all starts with knowing your why. That's what episode number 17 is about. Okay? And if you can do that, if you built trust first, all of these little things start to click into place. You're going to get more network marketing customers. You're going to get more home buyers or sellers. You're going to get more people that need that will sign up and become leads for your brokering. More people that need your services if you build trust. That's why word of mouth is the best way, because word of mouth is the trust is already established because you're actually piggybacking off of somebody else's trust. That's why one of the best ways and best customer acquisition strategies starting out is referrals, and offering of a referral bonus for customers to quickly build testimonials and asking people to share content with people and share what you do with people. And so, for example, for me, I want to help 100,000 people make $1 million. If you know anybody that can benefit from what I'm sharing here or any episodes of my podcast, please share it with people. Please invite people to the Grow Your Life community. I can't do this without you. And I can't help you get your goals unless I hear from you how I can help you. And we have a conversation, a two-way dialogue. This isn't just a one-way where I'm talking to you. I read the comments, I read the posts, I reply back to people because I want to help you get your goals. But I can only help you if you help me help you by asking the questions. And that's how we build trust. But I want to help you build trust with your customers. And so referrals is one of the best ways to do that. And then you can show and demonstrate what you do through social media. And as you build that trust, if trust is established and trust is at 100% in you, your product, and your company, and somebody knows I can trust this person, I can trust their product, I can trust their company, and they're the right customer. You know, we're not, if a bald man trusts me, my company, my product, he might refer me to his friends that have hair, but he's not going to buy it, obviously. But that's cool. That's why if you build trust even with people that maybe aren't your target customer, you always start with this question. Who do you know that needs what I do? And who might they know that can help me? And so I want to ask that to you. Who do you know that needs help getting more customers, reaching their results, extracting, refining, and launching their vision, and marketing and advertising what they're doing? Share this with those people. Plug them into this. Tag them in my social media posts. I go live every single day on social media. And if you're not going live with video every single day, showing people what you do on a daily basis on social media, this is not about you. This is about showing them how you can help them. Start with this one simple strategy on social media. Just and trust me on this one. I need you to trust me on this. If you don't do this, you will keep struggling, and you'll eventually start to do this, and then you'll start to see the results. Go live on your social media once a day for 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. Or even 1 minute. Seriously. And share a point, a topic, something that can help somebody reach their goals. Think in mind, get a picture of your target customer. Get a picture of maybe 4 of your target customers. So I can see, I'll think about certain people that are trying to reach their goals. And I have them in mind. And when I do this podcast, I'm thinking about those people while I'm sharing. What would I say to them to help them reach their goals? And that's why I love the community. The Grow Your Life community helps me know more about what people need help with. And the podcast is going to get better over time because of that, which is cool. And that'll lead to books and speaking engagements and all that. I know it because I know that that's the process. And you're helping me. You're like an early investor in what I'm building. If you're listening to this in 2019, when I first did this episode, you're an early investor in what I'm doing, basically. You're trusting the process of how this works by asking those questions in the Grow Your Life community. And maybe if you don't trust that that's going to work, go look at some of the answers to some of the questions other people have asked. You can see that. Build trust and certainty with other people by putting content on social media and building a community that trusts you more than anything else. And so if you're an individual, maybe you're a real estate agent, maybe you work for a company, maybe you're network marketing and there's other competitors in that space. People trust people more than they trust a product or company. And if you're not a household name yourself, you're not the CEO of a company that's a household name, then you need to build trust in you first. More than anything else. The only reason people buy from Apple Computer or Nike or these big multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies is they trust their friends that use the products or influencers or people that share it. So they're doing that type of marketing. But if you're not Nike, if you're not Yelp or Uber or, people trust Uber because they know there's a feedback system. eBay, there's a feedback system. There's mechanisms to build trust. There's in every business that you engage with, that you buy from, that you're a customer of, you yourself listening right now, there's always a trust mechanism in there. There's always a way to prove, is what this person talking about valid? One of the number one ways, that you can do that is to just show people the results for free. And then testimonials, and gather testimonials. And if you don't have a lot of testimonials, just demonstrate it and show people. And that comes from having confidence in who you are, what you do, projecting it, presenting yourself, and communicating that to other people in a way that they understand it, and now their trust, their certainty about you, your product, your service, and that you can help them reach their goals if they engage with you, if they buy from you, if they work with you, is certain, then they will become your customer if they're the right customer fit. And it's about bridging that gap on all steps of that process. So what I've seen is a lot of times people, they will have a lot of the gap bridged between, them and their target customer and that trust. But there's one tiny little area where that trust is broken. Many times the potential customer will never tell you why that trust is broken. And so we can ask those questions. We can get feedback from people. We can start to think about it from the perspective of our customer. What am I not doing that is not showing people what they need to know to trust me? And that's different for everybody, because we have different lives, we have different experiences, we have different beliefs, we have different upbringings, and we all come from different places. We're not supposed to be a copy of anyone else, but an original, uniquely and individually made, exactly who we are. And that's how you know that you can be the best in the world at what you can do. And the way that you bridge that gap and you build momentum in the business is when you're confident that you're the best in the world at what you can do, and you can demonstrate to other people that you're the best in the world at what you can do, and then you have a way to make money from it, and you're passionate about it, and then that builds momentum when you start to relentlessly demonstrate that, never giving up to other people. And that's what Jim Collins' Good to Great book talks about. It's all about that concept. He breaks it down in a book in a more technical way. I am not Jim Collins, and so I recommend it highly. There's a link on my blog to go purchase it on Amazon, the audiobook. It's one of the number one books that I recommend to anybody building a business and understanding why people buy from them or not. The other thing too is maybe you need to stop doing certain things that you're doing. This is one of the things that Jim Collins talks about as well, as if you're doing too much stuff is out there, hone in on what you're really good at and stop doing the rest. And then that will accelerate you from where you are to where you want to be. And then you present that and you communicate that because you have certainty of that, and you get clear and clarity on what you're the best in the world at. And then you express it, you communicate it, and you present it to other people as well. And you can use social media to do that. And then social media, Facebook and Instagram have systems of tracking. So if you do a 10-minute video on social media on Facebook, you can track if somebody got to minute 7.5. And so if somebody went along the path of a 10-minute video, got to minute 7.5, they're more likely to be your target customer. Just think about it. Natural psychology. For example, if you're listening to this podcast right now, and you're somebody that's gotten to this point of this podcast, you are who I would consider my target customer for listening to every other episode of my podcast. Because I've designed the whole podcast built around somebody like you, and for the Grow Your Life community. And that's really all I want from you, is just to join that Grow Your Life community, to engage, to share it with other people. That's it. Because if I can reach more people, that helps both of us in the long run. If you can connect people with what you do, you can ask the right questions, you won't struggle to build your business with confidence, with expressing to people that you know what you're talking about, that you can help them, and you don't give up on doing that. You stop doing what you're not good at. You stop trying to be a copy of other people. You get clarity in what you are good at. You use social media to demonstrate results. And then, this is what episode number 7 is about, like I said. And then you can utilize on Facebook and Instagram, if people got to, on your content, that's why I say daily content every single day, people that watch at least 75% of your video content, because you can only do this with videos. You can then use Facebook's algorithm to find the 6 million other people in the world that are your potential customers, whether you know them or not. I'm going to say that again. If you build content on social media around what you do, and you start getting people to engage with it, ask questions, and watching through your video content, and you can use Facebook to then track people that get to 75% of your video content, you can capture those people. So for example, on my social media for the last 6 months, I have about 3,500 individual people that have gotten to 75% of all my content. So that's 3,500 people that if I were to poll all of them, they are in the mix of what would equate to my target audience of people. Okay? So then I utilize what's called a lookalike audience on Facebook. And this is where, and episode number 7 talks about this, how to get people to do that. The artificial intelligence algorithm on Facebook will find, if you do 1% of people, it'll find the 2 million people in the United States and in your different countries, 1% of the world. So think of it this way. All the people that use the internet are pretty much on Facebook and Instagram. And so they'll find for you the target people that utilize social media that have similar interests. They behave in a similar way, psychology, and they actually utilize artificial intelligence to find these people. And it generates it based on how many people got to that 75% of that. So I can say, okay, Facebook, find me the 6 million people that are the most like these 3,500. What do all 3,500 of these have in common in their behaviors, how they interact, what they talk about, what their goals, needs, and desires are? Okay? And Facebook uses their AI to find the top 3% of people in the world that are most like my customers. And then what I do is I boost my content out to people on social media. Maybe you saw me on an ad. I found you through that method to do that. So then you can do that with social media to generate leads for yourself, to put your content out there, to demonstrate results, to get more customers. You can even do it centralized with location-based. So you could find the top 3% of people, or even the top 5% of people that are similar to that would be your customer in a local area that you live in, and then market to them to become your customer. And you do this by communicating on social media and then using the feedback on social media to hone in your message, to hone in exactly what you're good at, to hone in exactly how to express what you do, and to get better and more confident at this. And you generate leads, and maybe you're good at closing sales on the phone. Use an app like Calendly to schedule appointments with people, to get on the phone, to talk to them, and to get them to then become your customer. And if you utilize all these different tools, this is how, no matter what you do, no matter what business you have, nobody is separated from this that's listening to this right now. If you think that you're like, well, what I do just doesn't fit into that mold, go ask that question in the group. Leave a comment. That is how you can find your customer. You find them, and then you present to them what you offer. You communicate. You build trust with your target customer. You demonstrate results. You acquire them to ask for more information. You follow up, and then you close the sale. And that's the whole process of traffic to close. Building traffic, getting traffic online to whatever you do, and closing sales on the internet. And so that's an overview of all the steps of that blueprint. Now, everybody that's listening to this, you're probably in a different step of that process. If you're just starting out, you don't have customers right now, start by just doing daily content that supports what your target customer would also be interested in, that supports their lifestyle, that's unrelated to or similarly related to what you do for them. And don't care about who gets the credit. Don't care about if they buy from you or buy from somebody else. Just help serve somebody else through your content daily. That's your first step. If you're just starting out online and you're just starting out in business, or maybe you've been trying it for 10, 15 years and nothing's been working, the first step is to communicate to your target customer what it is that will help them reach their goals, and have a conversation It's not called billboard media. Okay? It's social media because it's social interaction. People communicating, sharing, liking, commenting, sharing, tagging their friends. And if you can do that, you can get results. And if you struggle to do that and you're not doing one live video every single day on your social media, that's the first place you need to start. Is one live video on your social media every single day for the next month, for the next 2 months. And what will happen is that exercise, that process, will help you get clearer in how you're expressing what it is that you do. Use it as a method to teach yourself how to get better at expressing what you do. Use it as a framework for that. Don't worry about what other people think about how you look, how you sound. People like real people, engaging with real people. Show people that you're a real person on the other side of that social media that they can interact with, and that trust will start to be built. And the exercise of you repeatedly, if you're still struggling in this and you're not doing one video per day on your social media, whether it's live or even pre-recorded, I'm okay with it if you want to pre-record it, delete it, and then pre-record it again. Live does go further. There's more interaction with it. Live is just more authentic. That's why my podcast, I just do these one takes. I just do one take of it. All my content is one take because I know that it connects people on an authentic level with me when I do that. We're connected on a very authentic level as if we're talking right now while you're listening to this. And I'm imagining that I'm actually talking to you, that we're sitting across from each other. I can't hear what you're thinking or what you're saying. Maybe you're laughing at this while I'm saying this, but that's what I'm imagining right now while I'm recording this. As I'm talking to a person. I'm not just talking to a group of people, but an individual, and speak to that individual. You're not speaking to the masses. You're speaking to the one. And when you can speak to the one, you can build trust with the one. And when you get really good at speaking to the one, you can build trust with the many, and then you can grow your business. And if you're not doing daily videos on social media, that's the number one place for you to start. So tomorrow, if you're listening to this, record one video and put it on social media. And then do it the next day. And promise yourself, commit to yourself this. Consistency. Hopefully, if you're listening to this by now, you believe that that's what you need to do. And if you still don't believe that's what you need to do, that's where some of the mindset stuff comes in, and those other episodes, they'll help you show more ways that you can use that. And if there's a question you have, maybe you're just like, I just don't know about that, Jeremiah. I just don't know if, like, how does that work for me? I want to help you. I want to help you get results. I want to help you start creating content that gets more customers. And if you go to my Grow Your Life community on Facebook, you can ask those questions of me, and then we can have a dialogue together and talk about that. And what I suggest is that's what all you want to do. That's what your goal of social media is to have a dialogue with the other person. You're not just talking about you, but how you can impact them and create a conversation. And imagine that camera is somebody else's eyes that you're looking at. Imagine it's your best friend that you're talking to. A lot of times, sometimes I'll imagine it's usually a close friend of mine that I'm imagining is on the other side of the camera here while I'm doing these podcast episodes. If you can imagine that and speak to that, and speak in that way confidently, not underwhelming, not overwhelmingly confident, not overcompensating or undercompensating, but authentically, originally, individually, who you are and who you were made to be, and all of your communications, your social media efforts then will start to compound over time because you'll get better at your messaging. And if you're worried and fearful what other people think, I have podcast episodes on that. Episode number 5 is about that. Episode number 5 is how to deal with any type of fear in your life, whether you're fearful or worried or anxious about what other people think about you, embarrassed, and that'll help unlock your breakthrough, because on the other side of your fear is your breakthrough. And I want to help you grow in your life and grow in your business and get more results. Now, if you're somebody that is doing daily videos on social media, I'm glad you're listening to this already still to this point. You've gotten to this part of the training, the content here. I commend you. You're really serious about getting results. And you're like, can you help me with something that's going to help me get results? If you're doing videos on social media daily, then you need to build a website. And that's what my course, Website Building Made Easy, helps with. And you need to launch a Facebook group. And maybe you need to start doing a podcast. And you need to start generating leads. And you need to start running ads. Okay? And that's what I have other episodes on that, on those things, on ads. There's a blog post I did on why your Facebook ads aren't working, and you can do that. And then there's just a lot of great stuff on YouTube that you can do to learn how to set up Facebook ads, how to do that, how to set up lookalike audiences. I am planning on making a Facebook and Instagram ads course. It's not out yet, but it will be coming out soon. And having more courses and materials and content for people, more training on this podcast. And I think I might dive into in the podcast. I'd actually love to know, if you're listening up to this point, what are some of the topics that you would love to hear on the podcast? Go post it in the Grow Your Life community and say, hey, listen, can you do a podcast, Jeremiah, on this? If you ask me that and I hear more than 2 other people chime in and say, if I hear it from 3 people, is my indicator. If I hear the same question from 3 people, I usually end up doing a podcast on it. So if you do that and 2 other people chime in, if you're listening to this and you see somebody else post it and you chime in, I promise you I will be making a podcast on that topic, or a way to get you started in that direction and that topic. So go post that in the Grow Your Life community. If you're not in there, go comment on my Instagram. And if you want to, take advantage of the free coaching calls with me that I do, and I pick a winner every single week. Leave hashtag Grow Your Life on my Instagram feed within the first 10 minutes of me posting on Instagram. Any post in the feed, or anytime during the week on any of my posts, leave hashtag Grow Your Life, and I pick one winner every single Sunday that wins a free coaching call with me. These are a full coaching call where I help people individually deep dive into their goals. I have some preliminary questions I send them. Just do it over DM on Instagram, super casual. And then we just get on the phone and we dive through and then we work through, okay, where are you at right now? Where do you want to be? What's your next steps? And so if you haven't been doing videos, you need to start doing those videos. And if you're afraid to do videos, that's where you need to start. You need to work on getting past that fear. And I have a lot of podcast episodes on getting past fear. A lot of my content on my social media is about getting past fear. And if you have, I know everybody's fears are different. So if you're worried in any way about anything, tell your fear, say, thank you, I appreciate it, but I got this. And then move past your fear to your breakthrough. I believe in you, and I know that you can reach your goals because I've seen it happen for other people. I've seen it happen for the people that I work with that applied all of what I've taught on this episode and all that I teach in these episodes to get results in their life and their business. Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.